welcome to MSFEA and to City Debates 2025. This year's framing invites us to examine the politics of mapping, not only who gets to draw the map, but what it hides and what it makes possible. It is fitting that this conversation happen here at AUB and particularly on this corner of campus because this Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, has been intimately tied to the history of mapping and power from its inception. The modern history of this region, as you know, has been shaped, literally, by maps drawn elsewhere.
In many ways, City Debates is an act of mapping that documents, interprets, and provides evidence on issues over space and time. The 21st edition brings forward 3 themes related to mapping: co-mapping, remapping, and unmapping.
In times of collapse, the tools we use to make sense of the world are tested, and few tools carry as much weight or risk as the map. We gather here today as scholars, practitioners, artists, designers, and activists, and most importantly, as witnesses, committed to interrogating the role of the map in a world marked by erasure, extraction, expulsion, and violence.
The racial production of contemporary borders is somehow designed to keep people moving, not necessarily to keep them out. Although clearly this is also, a very brutal part of the same system. So somebody like the kind of seminal book on border studies, Border as Method by Mazadra Nielsen, speaks of this kind of circulation that borders produce. So a system of circulation where deportation regimes, precarious lives, and militarized borders all come together to create this kind of global underclass, this sort of both wanted and unwanted within what I like to call this kind of fortified spaces of northern privilege.
Ultimately, I would hope that this kind of initiative would help bring spatial thinking back to Syria as a means for a better democratic governance.
And when I talk about these alternative spatial temporalities, of course I'm now talking about landing temporalities, but I think they belong to all of us more and more.
We continue to introduce mapping as an activity to affect how geographies can actualize the need for recovery. We held and continue to hold meetings with engineers who surveyed the damage, with active citizens defying top-down visions of the city, and dwellers struggling to stay in place, to collectively identify and challenge and think through possibilities not only for recovery, but also for sustaining action amidst continuous violence and colonial aggression.
I believe that the 4 projects before us today are an effort to do just that, to animate the cartographer's map of Palestine with the muddy affairs of the land, to bring history and politics into the map sheets, and to reinscribe the Palestinians, past, present, and future, onto the land.
We have argued and continue to argue that recovery is a process of unarchiving that must shift agency to the community, positioning them as the main actors in the unarchiving process and producing a shared vision for recovery. True recovery demands a space where Gazans can imagine the recovery of their land beyond the constraints of imposed boundaries, avoiding the reproduction of the same vulnerabilities and injustices that have defined Gaza for decades.
The destruction of these towns and villages began in earnest long before there was a war, in 1948, before Arab armies kind of entered Palestine.
When genocide is live streamed and entire populations disappear from the surface of the earth, all action and all inaction are vital. Our times are of perpetual war, state repression, rampant Islamophobia, and rising authoritarianism. Yet there are also times of mutual care, resistance, and solidarity. Solidarity among anti-colonial movements, feminist collectives, and worker struggles forged what geographer Featherstone calls insurgent geographies of connection, a term that can be readily applied to theorize the current phenomenon of sea-based solidarity. Palestinian scholar Linda Tabar chronicles movements' ways of sharing tactics and joining together to advance their differentiated struggles as well as their shared global struggle.
Contexts where ecologies are not only disrupted by climate crisis or infrastructural decay, but also shaped by conflict, colonial impact, and the erasure of local knowledge that surrounds it.
There is a politics to building and maintaining infrastructure, to listening to systems at the threshold of transformation. In the long tradition of radio amateurs, cyber feminists, and anti-colonial practitioners, we feel that it is our responsibility to develop literacies with systems that capture and represent the planet, so that we are able to name them and the violence that they enact, as well as recognize their alternative meanings and potential openings for interventions or imagining otherwise.
We map physical aspects and tangible aspects like urban elements and stakeholders. It can lead to a design and action, and then it also can lead to other mapping of social and social aspects and interactions that can activate and keep this project going.
Urban Commons was at the heart of the municipalist proposal in Spain. Municipalism said, we want to implement the commons in the government, what I would call the becoming common of the public, and to understand that also the layers that whatever defines the state and whatever defines the public is not exactly the same, and whatever defines the commons and whatever are the motivations of the social movements are not the same.